My name is Max Egan. I'm a researcher, filmmaker, radio host. I live in Australia. I do a radio show across Kansas, Talk Radio. I've been awake for a very long time. I kind of wake up to the control system when I was about 4, realised that something was terribly wrong. Started researching when I was 8 and basically found a way through, lived on the outside of society as a musician for most of my life, but always participated in research on the side as just a matter of interest, kind of a hobby. And like so many others, when global events became too unbearable to bear anymore, I felt a need to start speaking out about it and bringing a message to people, hopefully to empower them to make positive change. That's mainly what I'm about. I mean, not so much fear-mongering, but seeing the problems as opportunities for change. Well, what we've got here is an oligarchical system where we have a small group of individuals controlling the planet by controlling all the resources on the planet, mainly through control of the money system. The money system is the head of the snake. We need to address that and everything below that point. It creates a tiered system down from the issuance of currency. So that's the big problem. We basically got a situation where most of the world exists in a state of debt slavery. Well, virtually all the world does. Everywhere the World Bank has got hold of anyway. And it's an economic model that by its very nature, which requires permanent growth, it will eventually destroy the planet, destroy all life on the planet. You know, basically we're harvesting resources and turning them into rubbish because we have to make everything to break in order to support the economic model. So we're turning the entire planet into a rubbish tip. And eventually it will cost all life on the planet. It will cost all human life anyway. And the planet will not sustain us if we continue to support this system. So that's the main basic problem that we've got. Very often people don't see the problem because they're caught up in a state of debt slavery to the point that they're running so fast on the treadmill that they don't have time to look around them. And they never really question money. Money is something that we take for granted. We don't really question where it comes from, how it's made. We hear all of these conspiracy theories about fractional reserve banking and all sorts of stuff. But it actually goes a lot deeper than that. You know, it's the private issuance of currency itself that is the root of the problem. And there are people waking up to the fact that we do have some serious issues to face, but even when they do wake up to it, they don't really know what to do about it because they don't have any unity in their community. We've lost common unity in our community, which is what the word's supposed to mean. And that's another thing that I focus on very much in the talks is common unity, the need to break down barriers in our community so you have a strong communal response to any type of action government puts forth. Because ultimately, if we have this respect for each other, then things must change because society must change with that respect. Well, we're kept in a state of debt slavery where we're always competing with each other and we don't actually in a respectful manner to each other, and so the government just gets away with what it wants to do, you know. So ultimately it's got to come down to that. It's got to come down to changing our basic perception and starting to operate according to moral parameters rather than legal parameters. Questioning when laws are put in place which cause us to deviate from our moral compass, why we should do this. But again, if we don't have that united community, and we don't have people standing up for it. We're just a tall poppy that they like to cut down or a nail that's sticking up that they like to knock on their head. So it's got to come down to this common respect in the community. That's a big thing that we've lost as a result of the system, again, as a result of the economic model. Attention is the most valuable resource on the planet. It's very difficult to present information to people of this nature because they see it as hugely confrontational. You know, when you tell people that there's a small oligarch of people that are controlling this system of debt slavery and where it's all leading and how the economic model is basically designed to lead you away from yourself, it's hugely confrontational. You're basically telling people, look, everything that you thought was real and everything you've done with your life for the last 40 or 50 years has been completely meaningless because you're viewing the world from the wrong perspective. And people take this as a huge challenge to their reality. So you're really, really questioning people. So it's very difficult. You've got to find a way that will get their attention in a concise enough manner to want them to focus a little bit, but open doorways for them so they realise things for themselves, because the real truth must be realised. You'll never be able to tell anybody the truth. You have to provide a perspective for them which may help shift theirs so they can discover the truth for themselves. I think there's too many people screaming fear about all the problems we face rather than looking at the opportunities all these problems present to us and present for us, and at least suggesting a pathway to dialogue which may lead to a solution. You know, I mean, if you haven't got that, if you're not at least focused on what the solution may be, then really you're part of the problem. So You know, it's finding that middle ground, and that's what I've tried to do with the shows and the films that I've put out. There's been a sequential series of events that have brought us to this point, and we need to find the steps to get us back to this point. I mean, if we just pulled the system down now and went back to a state of anarchy, self-governance, it would be chaos. It'd be what they present anarchy as being, which it would be chaos. I mean, anarchy is actually self-governance. It's not chaos at all. But you need to have people of strong moral fibre, people of integrity, people who have the respect for themselves that will cause them to respect others. I really believe a lack of respect for others is because you have a lack of respect for yourself, mainly because you don't know yourself, because this society has never let you discover yourself. So, you know, it's a fine line. It's a really fine line. But again, it's got to come back to that. It's got to come back to unity. That's how we're going to get through the problem. But it's being aware that there is a problem, and being aware that all problems provide opportunity for solution. You know, that's the key. But if we don't have dialogue, if we're not prepared to discuss it with each other, and at least look at other people's ideas of what the solution may be, we're never going to find one. You know, but we're in a situation now where we have to. I mean, the world's causing more and more people to wake up. The more negative they make it, the more people wake up. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more they try to control us, the more they're losing control. So that's good to see that there are vast amounts of people talking about this now. You know, vast amounts of people are still very asleep, but there's vast amounts of people that are aware we have a situation. They're just not quite aware of what it is. They just know things are not well, things are not right. And I've had an amazingly positive response to all of my talks all around the world because they're solution-based. I think, you know, that's the main thing. People see there is a way out. You know, I don't think human consciousness will ever be controlled. I think no matter how much they try to control us, all they will do is succeed is waking more people up. But it's what they wake up into. Whether they wake up into a state of anger and violence, or whether it's anger and positive action. And I'm incredibly angry with what I do. But I do very calm, eloquent radio shows. I channel that anger into positive action, which I feel may empower others. And again, leaning towards opening doorways for them to self-discovery and to discover the truth for themselves. It's really important that we focus that. I think, you know, leading by example is the most important thing we can do. And I've seen an amazing, a lot of people around the planet. Everywhere I've gone, I've seen pockets of resistance. I spoke at Boom Festival in August and to an audience of about 1,000. A lot of people had never heard the information that I was bringing to them before. And at the conference, I was actually very critical of Israel during the talk because of what the recent incursion into Gaza. I have a lot of friends in Gaza. And there were a lot of Israelis in the audience who, after my talk, came up and they thanked me for my firmness towards their home country and thanked me for my kindness towards them as people. You know, we too often attack the other people. We go, oh, the problem is what Israel is doing to Palestine, so the problem is the Israeli people. When really we need these people to wake up to the fact that their government is as controlled as everybody else, because ultimately the only people who will change the Israeli government is the Israeli people. There's no good attacking these people. We've got to realise that all of these governments are basically puppet organisations. If their populace supports them, it's usually because they've been programmed to do so, because they haven't been given the full story on anything. So it's having, again, have this respect and we can fix things. But I've seen an amazingly positive response, and more and more everywhere I go. I'm actually going home from here to do a talk to a business seminar, a group of entrepreneurs. There's a guy who does self-help entrepreneurial classes, 4-day seminars, and then he prepares them for something from left field and brings me in to discuss the whole global conspiracy, if you want to call it that, the whole global oligarchy that controls things, which is absolutely mind-blowing information for these people. They've never heard it before. But very often they're very appreciative of the information as well. I've had very few negative responses from the people, and these are people that have never heard of me. So this is even a man running business, entrepreneurial, self-help seminars that is now inviting people like me to bring the information to them. So that's bridging that gap between that world, and just the fact that that world is even interested shows that there is a huge wave of consciousness sweeping across the planet. I think it's only a matter of time before we shift things, you know. 10 or 20 years ago, we were looking at the shadowy government, the shadowy spy novel version of reality that exists in the shadow. Now we're seeing that it's real, and we're seeing that these people aren't really as powerful as we thought they are. But they are pretty powerful. They control a lot of interest. They have an unlimited money supply, which is part of the problem. I mean, and people can't really get that concept in their minds, an unlimited supply of money. You know, for every dollar you spend on trying to wake people up, they can beat you 1,000,000,000 to 1, and they can do it every minute of every day. So people are waking up to the fact that this is there, but they're seeing that there's a way out. So, you know, it's all good. I think it's all good. We're going to get through this, you know. The first step, obviously, is changing your perspective of who and what you are into a point where you've got the respect for yourself enough that you can respect other people on an equal standing. And once we've got this respect in our community, then we need to address the money system. Perhaps even addressing the money system before then, if we can find the right way to do it. You know, we have to regain the issuance of currency. The private issuance of currency is what creates a state of artificial scarcity, keeps people running on the treadmill so fast that they don't have time to even respect each other or think about things. You know, but ultimately it's got to come to respect and control of the money system. We do those two things and we've got big change coming. Control of the money system could be done by re-evaluating the tax system, getting people to actually look at it. And I think money and tax would be a useful tool if we can find a method of restructuring a tax system whereby people aren't kept in a state of scarcity anymore, and have that to offer the people. You will at least get their attention. Because as I said, the most valuable resource on the planet is people's attention. It really is. If you can get people's attention to the fact that there's a problem, well, they might listen. But they're only interested in money. So you need to find some method of using the money system to get their attention to the fact that there's a big problem with the money system. And too often this is presented to people in the concept of fractional reserve banking and all this stuff that people just can't get their heads around. So we need something really structured and simple to say, okay, well, if we do this, it's going to lead us here. And it's these 3 simple steps that we'll take to do it, or however steps it will take. It's got to be simple, something that people can understand, that gets their attention. Even if you don't end up changing the money system, well, at least you've got their attention to the fact that there's something wrong with it. So it's finding that which will get us the attention that we need to get the right message to the people. But again, it's got to be a message which is not too confrontational, because you're challenging people's reality with this information. There's been steps. We've got to find those steps to reverse the sequence, and that's what I'm working on. It seems to be getting more and more positive the more people I talk to about it. You need people that are going to get self-responsibility back. We've lost a lot of that. You know, but I think everyone should be issued a place to live as soon as they're born. If you're born in a country, you should have somewhere to live. It should be part of the school curriculum, putting a permaculture garden in this place while you're at school, so by the time you finish school, you've got a house built and you've got a permaculture garden to feed yourself with. Everybody should have this. This is a basic right of life, you know. So something like that would be great, which would instill self-responsibility into people. You could go and work and do stuff if you wanted, but if you don't, then you can still live here and study the art of your life, become a philosopher, become somebody who is powerful in philosophical and spiritual and healing ways and mental ways. I mean, there's other ways of doing things. As long as you're not dependent upon somebody else, you know. So having a situation where we're all given money, I mean, it might work for a little while as a transitional thing, but you need to remove the scarcity, the fact that we have to pay to be alive. You should be able to work at what you want to work at. Find out what your artistic expression of creation is and put your focus on that, because you'll be good at that and you'll excel in that and you'll create something of benefit for society. But if you're taken and you're told you've got to pay to be here and you've got to go work in this factory or do whatever, there's no creative potential in that. You end up with the situation we've got. So something like that would be good. I mean, it's going to take a generation at least to re-educate people on how things should be. But these sorts of ideas are great ideas. Control of the tax system, where we're not paying all the taxes that we've got. Now, the only reason we pay all these taxes is because we've got major corporations running most of the planet and they've got all these loopholes and they don't pay any tax, and so we basically support them. So we need a restructuring of that to eliminate that problem, which would put people into a state where they don't have to work as many days a week, which means there would be 100% employment, because you'd only have to work 2 days a week, so someone else could have your job for 2 days a week and someone else for another 2 days, unless it's something that's highly skilled and your services are required. I mean, there's ways of restructuring this system so that everybody benefits. Everyone learns to take responsibility. I mean, if you only had to work 2 days a week, you're going to find these people who are on welfare who don't want to work. They'll be more encouraged if it's only 2 days a week. You ease them back into a state of self-responsibility, because that's the thing, it's a nanny state. Now, we don't need a nanny state. We don't need a welfare state. We need to be able to give them the basic freedoms that we deserve as humankind, as being born. Now, you deserve the right to live somewhere, the right to grow your own food and have fresh water, to have fresh air and a roof over your head. This is a basic right of life. and it should be in all of our systems from day one. Again, this will take a restructuring of the political system, but it's not going to happen without the respect of the community. You can't implement anything without the respect of the community. And ultimately, I don't believe we need to restructure the system or create any new system to step out of this system and into that one. All we need to do is restructure what's in here. Because if we change our heart space and we start acting according to moral parameters rather than legal parameters, the system must change with us. It will be an organic thing that goes with our new state of consciousness. We just have to remember who and what we are. That's the big problem. That's the loss of us, the loss of ourself. And then when we do discover ourself, it's just this little self. We don't realise that there's only one self. We're all part of the self. And we've got to have this respect for each other. That's where the change will come. I really believe it will. If we did that, we could change the world in a day. But, you know, if everyone just started going, oh my God, let's do what's right in all that we do, rather than just what's right for me, yeah, the world would change. You know? I think we're heading there. That's where we're going. And I think there's no stopping us. The more they bring it on, I just say bring it on, because you're just waking more and more people up.